In court, some startling statements.
Please state after each statement whether or not you agree or acknowledge that the statements are true, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
First part is this video that's circulating, right? Where Gunna is basically admitting to the judge and to the court that YSL is a gang. Now, had this not been released and people had not seen this, I don't think anybody would be going hard on Gunna. Because remember, when the information came out that he was free and he didn't tell on anybody, people were originally happy for him. But after that, it was like, bruh, let's go, man, let's go. People couldn't believe it, man. So let's look at this video of Gunna from the news where they talk about, or this clip from court, I should say, where they show him in court.
By any party in this case, you will testify truthfully, but reserve any Fifth Amendment rights or privileges. Okay,
so this is somebody on behalf of the DA's office, and they are telling him those conditions that he agrees to by accepting this plea deal. And she is telling him straight off the top that you agree to testify. Like you have to testify if we call upon you. So all that stuff he was saying in that statement he released, I don't know about that, man. You know what I mean?
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
All right, let's continue.
Against self-incrimination. You agree to perform 500 hours of community service, a substantial portion of which will require that you speak to young men and women about the hazards and immortality of gangs and gang violence, and the decay that it causes our communities.
In court, some startling statements.
Please state after each statement whether or not you agree or acknowledge that the statements are true, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I became affiliated with YSL around 2016. Is that true as it pertains to you, Mr. Kitchens?
Yes, ma'am.
YSL is a...
Now, this is the part that's got everybody hot. I'm going to keep it real, man. This is the part that got people losing it, man, because they're like, it seems like he's throwing Young Thug under the bus. You know what I mean? No matter what you think about what he's saying right now, you got to think about the fact that this is going to have an effect on Young Thug's case later on down the line.
A music label and a gang, and you have personal knowledge that members or associates of YSL have committed crimes in furtherance of the gang.
Yes, ma'am.
You were present when law enforcement officers stopped the vehicle in which you were present along with Jeffrey Williams, wherein hydrocodone, methamphetamines, and a firearm were recovered. These items did not belong to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now, for you guys who are wondering, there was a case a couple of years ago that got thrown into the RICO. It was one of the ways that they were able to wrap Gunna into the RICO case. And Young Thug, Gunna were in one car. And it was a caravan of cars, right? And they were traveling through Atlanta. They got pulled over. They found some substances. First, this case, what's wild about it is this case originally got thrown out. It got, in my opinion, it got brought back up and thrown back into the mix in order for it to be put into the RICO, man. And a lot of people are saying that was a strategic move because, you know, they were peeping that Gunna is the weakest link. You know, he would be the first to fold if possible. I'm not saying he folded, and I'm not calling him the weakest link, but I do hear that language out there a lot, man. So in that case, they found some substances, right? And Gunna and Young Thug were pulled over on the side of the highway. Neither of them claimed it. Things went away, right? Now that it's brought back in this case, he has to remove himself from that case as well, so that's what he's doing right now. But all while doing that, it seems like he's putting the ownership of those substances on Young Thug. I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but that's what it sounds like, bruh.
And do you acknowledge the following statement? I recognize, accept, and deeply regret that my talent and music indirectly furthered YSL the gang to the detriment of my community. YSL as a gang must end. Is that your statement or acknowledgement?
Yes.
Ugh, that's the one that got everybody mad. Right there, bruh. That's the one right there that got everybody hot. Because, I mean, that basically he's admitting it to being a gang, right? but saying that it's a detriment to society, basically painting a narrative for anybody that has any issue with YSL and wants to come at them, especially during this hot time of a RICO, man. So that's why people are going at Gunna, man.
A YSL indictment includes Jeffrey Williams, a.k.a. Young Thug. His attorney, Brian Steele, has said,
Mr. Williams committed no crime.
Yeah, that's what his attorney said. And you seen what Gunna said in the courtroom, man. So it's making things look a lot worse, man. It's making things a lot tougher for Young Thug, or worse for Young Thug, I should say, in his court case going forward. At least that's what it feels like, man. Now, there's been a lot of backlash today, man. A lot of people talking about this situation. And some specifically, man, are Boosie, man. So that video was released, right? And, man, let's do this. Let's go ahead. Before we play that again, I want you guys to look at some of these responses, man. Because one of the most critical people in this situation, it could kind of look at what really went on in court yesterday and really get an idea of how this is going to affect Young Thug in the future, is Boosie. Because he's gone through this. He's done the song and dance. He's actually had a life or death case over his head, right? Where he was looking at life. Excuse me. Yeah, he was looking at life. And he's like, yo, man, this ain't good. Like, this is telling. Where everybody else was still on a positive wave, Boosie was one of the first people to be like, nah, man, forget that. This is telling. Now, in this post right here, you can see he was clear about how he felt about this situation. He said rat with 3 rat emojis, cheese. This would have put tears in my eyes, crying emoji. My brother, my artist, like, what the? I'm fighting for my life that I'm not running a gang, criminal enterprise. So basically, I'm fighting for my life that I'm not running a gang or criminal enterprise. You do this to Big Dog, you know it's a gang, the guns and drugs, not yours. Well, who else was in the car? They could be for shaking my head. And basically letting people know that when Gunna said that part, man, when he said, yo, those aren't my guns, I was in the car, but those drugs and those guns were not mine, he's basically putting the onus on somebody else in the car. Now, this is a tough spot that a lot of street dudes find themselves in a lot of times, right? Like, whose gun is that? Who got a case on them? And everybody usually remains quiet. The fact that he spoke out and said something just happened to hit Boosie in a special place where he was like, nah, dog, this ain't right. He's actually telling. Like, he's actually snitching. That's ratting, you know what I mean? And that's why he went so hard on him and put out that post. And if you think I'm tripping, let's compare what Boosie said to the actual video again of Gunna in court.
By any party in this case, you will testify truthfully, but reserve any Fifth Amendment rights or privileges against self-incrimination.
Once again, he already verified the fact that he would testify if he had to.
You agreed to perform 500 hours of community service, a substantial portion of which will require that you speak to young men and women about the hazards and immortality of gangs and gang violence, and the decay that it causes our communities.
In court, some startling statements.
Please state after each statement whether or not you agree or acknowledge that the statements are truthful, okay?
Now, this is the part that got everybody hot right here. Right here. This is the part that got people mad, man, and upset.
Yes, ma'am.
I became affiliated with YSL around 2016. Is that true as it pertains to you, Mr. Kitchens?
Yes, ma'am.
YSL is a music label and a gang, and you have personal knowledge that members or associates of YSL have committed crimes in furtherance of the gang.
Yes, ma'am.
You were present when law enforcement officers stopped a vehicle in which you were present along with Jeffrey Williams, wherein hydrocodone, methamphetamines, and a firearm were recovered. These items did not belong to you.
Now, this part right here is obviously what set Boosie off. This next part. Yeah, he basically put the onus, like I said, on whoever else is in the car because he's already in his plea deal proclaiming that those things don't belong to him.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you acknowledge the following statement? I recognize, accept, and deeply regret that my talent and music indirectly furthered YSL the gang to the detriment of my community. YSL as a gang must end. Is that your statement or acknowledgement?
Yes.
Dang. So basically, in that last part, now hopefully you guys did not miss that. He basically agreed that he was a part of YSL in furtherance of a gang. Like as a musician, he was helping to further this criminal enterprise. Now that's why Boosie's so hot. That goes back to Boosie's statement. Like he basically said that, yo, my role in this was in furtherance of this criminal enterprise, this gang or whatnot. And he agreed to that. Man. Okay, man. I know everybody was happy for Gunna being out, you know what I mean? I ain't too mad at him. I mean, I don't have a dog in this fight, but you can see why Boosie is saying what he says, is all I'm trying to do. Now, hopefully you enjoyed that story, but do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and make sure you hit that notification bell so that way you get a notification every time I do one of these updates, and we out of here. Peace.